Yeah. I want to do bufo though.
I have a friend who serves it.
Okay, yeah. I'm interested in that.
I'm interested too. I hear it lasts like 15 minutes to an hour. Like it's much faster. And apparently when you do that, like you can just see the meaning of everything in your life, and like it just gives you the answers.
Is that the same as like DMT-ish? Because DMT is also like...
DMT is also an ayahuasca.
Okay.
But like bufo, the DMT I think is just goes directly in, whereas with ayahuasca it's drawn out over the 6 hour. Yeah. So you're like tripping.
Like this. What's goody, everyone? Welcome back to another beautiful episode of Love Like This. I'm the one and only Orlando Roye, a.k.a. Hoochie Dad himself. I switched it off from all my personal a.k.a.s to our conjoined a.k.a.s because we're in this together.
So kind of you.
And I'm sitting here with my beautiful, lovely, soon wife-to-be, the one and only Jamilah Mapp herself, a.k.a. Hoochie Mommy. Say hi, baby.
Hi. Hi.
Much better intro than before. You got to admit.
Who, yours or mine?
Well, I'm the only one that ever does the intros.
Oh, okay. Yours is just so expansive. I don't know where to get in on it. Hi, this is Mila Mapp, a.k.a. Hoochie Mom. Is this couch cricket?
Oh, yeah. It's leaned to the side. I gotta get everybody in here. You know we got a special guest today.
Okay, we do have a special guest. Do you want to introduce our special guest?
No, you do it.
Love? Well, first, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a minute since we recorded, it seems.
It's been a month.
Okay. I'm good. Just, momming. It's summertime, so.
School's out.
School is out.
Buns are out.
Titties are out.
Titties are out.
If you haven't seen us on YouTube, come see these itty-bitty titty committee.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the car wash today, and this nice, kind black gentleman said, I just want to let you know your right titty's out. And I said, thank you. And he was like, I didn't know if you, wanted that to be out or whatever, if it was for attention. I said, this is a problem titty. He said, what's her name? I said, I didn't name her yet. He said, maybe it could be a chocolate chip, a Hoy, and the left one could be Missy. And I said, that's fine.
Not another man naming your name.
I was thinking my boyfriend probably not going to appreciate this, but he didn't think of it, so. Missy and chocolate chip Ahoy it is.
Missy and Chips Ahoy?
Anyway.
You whore. You just
I made a new friend, you an asshole, okay? He actually said he was hoping that I was single because I seemed so nice, and I said, I'm not single, but I get where you're coming from.
Okay.
And then he told me he was on flight security, and then he ended up telling me he was just TSA.
I'm just playing. I know I hyped it up. I'm actually just TSA.
I said, that's a good way to manifest, sir. I was like, commercial, really? Or like private? He was like, private. I was like, wow. He was like, aviation security. I was like, ooh. And then he was like, just kidding. I was like, okay.
He was close to bagging if he was on flight private security.
Listen,
might have had a chance.
He got me. I was like, I'm going to see you at TSA. This is going to come in handy one day. I got his number and everything. I said, I'm having a party next month.
No, you and your friendly ass.
I'm the most friendly bitch you'll ever meet. It literally takes nothing to become my friend.
While we're here, we want to make a short announcement since you let everybody know that your titties are going to be on YouTube for this episode. We also do have a Patreon, patreon.com/love like this, and you go on the socials and follow us at Hoochie Mom and Dad. Damn, you look good. I was kind of like, on the fence about you wearing this dress because it's see-through and we got to make clips on like that, but I'm happy that you
I'm strategically
sitting in a way that the nipples are up. Fun. Oh, look at the looks. Oh, giving Renaissance. French Renaissance, not the Beyonce one.
Anyway, without further ado.
Mm-hmm. Let's
Well, we're gonna tell what was your announcement?
That was the announcement. We got a YouTube, Patreon. Okay. All the things.
We do this, I swear. Without further ado, we have a special guest today. I'm very excited to have you here. We have the shaman, Mr. Leather himself, and astrologer, Danny Santos.
What's up, baby? Thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
Oh my God, I'm thrilled to be here, you
Yeah.
guys. I love both of your podcasts, and I'm just excited to go over the stars, talk a little bit about some relationship, emotional, sexual compatibility. We're going to see what the stars say about your love life.
Oh, Danny, we are happy to have you. Welcome back to LA. You stepped out for a while to advance and upgrade your lifestyle, your whole life. And we're happy to have you back here, man.
Thank
happy
you.
to see you. You look vibrant.
Thank you.
You really do.
Thank
Last
you.
time we saw you, you're on your way to Peru to finish your shamanism in ayahuasca.
That's right.
He just shared with me he's completed how many journeys
I've
with
done
ayahuasca?
64 ayahuasca ceremonies.
64 ayahuasca ceremonies. Okay,
love it.
brother here is talking to God right now. Okay,
God has a lot to say. Oh my God.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for this very special episode, we like to try and do things different and switch it up. We got Danny to bring in our birth charts. So we're going to check out our birth charts and simultaneously see our compatibility.
Yes.
I cannot wait for him to tell us that we are not that compatible. We just be pushing through.
And for all our listeners joining us, the lovers, the potential lovers, the almost lovers, we thought this would be a good way to check compatibility and give you guys tools to check in with your local astrologist or Danny himself. Do you offer?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
SantosCrystalVisions.com.
SantosCrystalVisions.com and see if your relationship is compatible or who you are or who you know you are, but you need some a little bit of refreshing, because I think that's really what it is. Sometimes people stray away from astrology, but sometimes there's some things in there that you already know, but you need to be reminded and told. So you'd be like, oh, yeah, duh. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to have you here, and I'm excited to share this gift with everybody. Yes. When we first met you, Danny, I don't know if you remember, when we were at that restaurant. We told you our birthdays. Yeah, and you're like, oh, this makes sense. And ever since then, it was 2 years ago, I'm like, we gotta get more. We gotta get more on that.
Yeah.
So please, tell us your findings.
Well, when initially looking at your birth charts, Mila, you're June 22nd, so you're Cancer.
Mm-hmm. I'm the first day of Cancer.
That's right on the cusp. And Orlando, you are an Aquarius, February 10th.
Best sign.
So Aquarius and Cancer, it's not the first two signs I'm running to put together. Mm-hmm. Because a Cancer, you're looking for intimacy, connection, emotionality. Whereas Aquarius, you want more freedom and the independence to do what you want to do and on your own time. So normally these don't go together. Mm-hmm. But you guys have a lot of other factors going on in the birth charts that are making you more compatible.
Yeah.
So I think it might be a good place to just start a little bit on the individual level. Orlando, what you're working with, and Mila, what you're working with, and then what we're seeing as you two bake into a cake or a brownie. what you make when you combine the pieces. Mm-hmm. So Orlando, in astrology, we have what's known as the sun sign, the moon sign, and the rising sign. Mm-hmm. Have you heard these terms before?
Yes.
Okay.
He's married to a witch. He has really no choice.
Yeah, I have no choice.
Well, and it's kind of similar to what we call, in Freudian psychology, the ego, the id, and the superego. Mm-hmm. So the sun sign is your ego. Mm-hmm. So that's Aquarius. Aquarius is the least egocentric sign of the zodiac.
Really interesting.
There's another sign in there that brings out the ego.
Well, you got Scorpio rising.
Yes, there you go. I tell everybody all the time, you don't see the Aquarius. What you're seeing is the Scorpio rising. The Aquarius comes out at certain times. But yes.
And you've got a Capricorn moon, which is another strong ego sign. Mm-hmm. So, but when we think about Aquarius, the desire for freedom, liberation, it's the sign of enlightenment. So that means non-attachment is your style. Yeah. The more free, the more open, the
Nomadic.
More yes. Yeah. The more you have the ability to explore your own life and thoughts and ideas in your own way, you're attracted to that kind of experience. Yeah.
I've always felt that the freedom what it gives me is the opportunity to come across experiences. If I'm not latched down to anything in any type of way, the experiences will come to me because I'll be just moving around.
Yeah. You have the ability to do what you want when you want without having to consult anybody else. So Aquarius, in my opinion, is the most difficult sign to date. Mila, maybe you can say a little bit on this because they're the least likely to compromise.
That's so crazy because I feel like that's me.
Oh.
I feel like I'm the most please don't tell me what to do. I would like to just do what I want to do, and I don't want to actually hear any of your opinions. I just want you to say, okay.
Well, you do have Leo rising.
Yeah.
So, which actually makes Aquarius rule your 7th house of romantic relationships. So right off the bat, you want a partner who is freedom loving. because you want to be able to take in attention wherever you go too.
Yeah,
I mean,
at the car wash.
Yeah. So you got a partner who's cool with the fact that happened. If you were dating like a Leo or a Gemini or maybe somebody who's a little bit more jealous, like they would say you can't do that.
What the hell are you talking about?
That's not okay.
Yeah.
They named your right titty. Who the fuck?
Put on a sweater.
Yeah. Whereas like an Aquarius is like, great, like bring them over. Let's have dinner together.
Yeah.
Oh, you come to the party? Sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
invite
you
'em
named
to-
my girl's titty. Can you talk to me?
Exactly. So it's like that love of freedom. But the moon sign in your chart, Capricorn, this is one of the most intense signs to be born under, and this is actually where the moon is in its detriment. It's the most difficult position for the moon to be in because the moon is ruled by Cancer. So this is Cancer is the sign of emotionality, sensitivity, vulnerability, intimacy, whereas Capricorn is the sign of like resilience, working really hard, sucking it up, numbing yourself out to get the job done. So this is another factor that makes you two incredibly compatible because you're coming in with feelings, Mila, and you're all about like the emotionality, and you're coming in, Orlando, with like almost this dryness. Like you've endured a lot in life, and it might be
tired.
Yeah.
I'm so tired.
And it might make it difficult for you to initiate in a vulnerable or emotional way.
Yeah.
So again, this is another opposition between the two of you. Capricorn's the archetype of the father. Cancer's the mother. So we got mom and dad literally right here.
Uchi astrology, mom and dad.
There you go. There you go. But I'm curious to hear on your end, like this idea of like being so resilient to the point of having to numb yourself out, especially early on in life.
Yeah, especially in my relationship with my parents alone, because of like the pain there, it's made it easy for me to like quote unquote numb out. I've always seen it since I've been like so freedom loving. It's easy for me to like sway away from shit that like doesn't I feel like doesn't like feed into me or that doesn't fulfill me. So my numbing out in a way is just like flowing from like away from people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, we've gotten to this point where I don't like what I'm feeling with this person.
Yeah.
I could communicate, or I could just be like, all right, well, this has run its course. It's like I'm not gonna ghost and just like dip off, but I'll go, okay, this has run its course. I just want to like stop this here instead of maybe going the extra mile of like expressing emotions. And it's really when it gets to the point of like I feel I've either expressed my emotions too much or I have to do it at all, and I don't feel like doing it at all. That would make me be like, okay, I'm just gonna like start easing away.
And that's like the Capricorn and Aquarius combo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like numbing yourself out and then being absent or ghosting.
Yeah.
So that's like a survival mechanism that you have.
Right.
And you've got a partner who's super into intimacy and emotions, and also Leo rising. It's the most loyal placement of the zodiac. So she'll have no problem holding on to you when you're like, fuck everything. And
yeah. And then I'll get super logical with it too to like make my escape up. Like, listen, this is the reason why this happening, and I don't feel like later on in life that it's going to work out for me. So from right now, to keep our friendship, I'm just going to feel like we should just separate and just make our way apart.
Yeah. Whereas Mila, maybe you can speak on this where you're like, okay, are you done having your moment? Like, do you ever find that?
I don't feel like he's ever like been in a place where like, fuck you, I'm leaving. But I do think like we balance each other out well, where when he's like, I could be super detached too, that Cancer hard shell shit, I'd be like, it's not gonna work.
Well, and you've got a Libra moon too.
Yeah.
So it's like you're weighing everything all the time.
I'm indecisive as fuck, and I'm emotional, but I'd like to feel nothing, so I try to practice feeling nothing as often as I can. And then when
you're a Cancer, so it's oh my
impossible.
God.
But then when he feels nothing, I'm like, you need to be more emotional.
Yeah. And to just interject, that's what gets me to react and communicate is that now I have somebody who, even if she doesn't really want to speak or communicate, her emotions always reach out. So because I have that emotion that'll seep on and reach to me, then I'll be like, actually, you know what? I am angry. I want to talk about how angry I am.
Yeah.
And I need you to listen to these emotions. So when I get to that point of expressing my emotions, then it's like coming out and it's rolling out. But because her like energetic, like her like emotional space to like reach out, even if she doesn't really want to talk, her emotions are always like heavy in there,
Right.
not in a bad way, but it's always heavy and around.
Well, being with a Cancer, it's an omnipresent thing. Like emotionality is just part of your sign. So when you are initiating with emotions and he's like feeling cold, how do you respond to that?
I think if I initiate with emotions, it's probably like physical rather than it is necessarily I'm verbally like, let's talk. You know,
Yeah.
I think he does a lot of talking. But it's more like I guess I want to be babied a little bit. I'm soft, but I don't really want to be, you know, it's like annoying. But I do think that, you know, I'm always just trying to, when I feel like he is being dry and cut, I'm always trying to pull from my own emotions and not not step away from them, but step into them so that we can communicate in a better place.
Yeah.
But I do feel like if for you to be the Capricorn and the Aquarius, you're pretty emotional and pretty communicative.
Well, I mean, this is in comparison to like, now relationships a bit different because we've been together for a while.
Yeah.
This is in comparison to like dating. And, like my dating life, then it's like, all right, I'll go.
It's very cut and dry.
left and
I'll dip
right,
out,
not
like,
attaching
slowly.
to anybody.
Yeah, I'll easily stop. But when it comes to like being in a relationship and being with you, because I do really like you, and I can always feel, to me, I can always feel like your emotions, like you're always in a feel, like you always feel a lot. So because I know you're in an emotional place, it makes it easier for me to tap into my emotion and then express it, because I'm already expressing. I'm very expressive, but emotional is not like necessarily my strong suit unless I'm around you.
Yeah. Well, and also
So
you
that's
do
how
have a
this goes.
Scorpio rising.
And then there's a Scorpio rising.
Those emotions are going to run far deeper than most people
Yeah.
might even understand.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Pluto right on your ascendant. So Pluto's like the ayahuasca planet. It's the one that goes to the core of the issue. It wants to surgically operate on your soul. And Scorpio is the sign of sex. So when you walk into the room, there's like this almost like a big dick energy or this sexuality.
I have been told.
You know? So you combine that with the Aquarius, which is like
free-flowing big dick energy in the room.
yes. So it's kind of like, you know, the idea of being in a space where there's a lot of sexual freedom and liberation, and like Aquarius is the sign of fasting the ego, pulling off of something or removing something by not even getting involved. Scorpio is the sign of ego death through things like sex or exorcisms or, you know, the more intense side of life. So you're walking this really interesting line between like freedom and not getting into something or not letting your ego stop you, but also having this ego that wants to get in there and experience and synthesize other people, whether sexually or emotionally or otherwise. So interesting, two parts of yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of like making people feel from a distance.
Yeah. So you know it's an interesting combo you got there, and then the moon is with the planet Uranus. They're right on top of each other. So you might also have a bit of a genius mind, or like constantly.
I don't want to brag.
It goes with the Aquarius stuff too, but like, you know, your ability to like understand things, perceive things, systematic structures, like you just have a little bit more of that kind of intelligence compared to most people.
Yes.
So, and I'm sure as an Aquarius, you love hearing that.
Yes. I always agree.
Now, what's really interesting is we've got Venus in Pisces. So Venus is the planet of love, intimacy, and romance. And it's at 16 degrees, whereas Mila, you've got Mars in Pisces at 19 degrees. And your North Node, your destiny, is 17 degrees Pisces. So you are bringing love, romance, and intimacy to Mila's sense of masculine energy, power, and anger, but also her destiny. So there's something about the way that he initiates with you emotionally that it's foreign to you.
Yeah.
It's not in your wheelhouse.
What the hell is this nigga doing?
Are you loving me to death?
Is he love bombing me?
So can you tell me a little bit about how him being gentle and soft and romantic and loving is almost foreign to you on some level?
It's super foreign, and it's definitely disarming. And I don't think I've ever experienced that in a relationship where someone, even in my raft or even in an angry or argument or disagreement, that the conflict, like he decides and actively chooses to combat that with love and softness. And it is like, what the fuck is going on? And it's also very loving, and it's disarming, and it's made me have to like break down some walls and revisit some things and come back to myself, because physically, when I don't like something anymore, I want to shut it down and remove myself. And in this situation, I haven't quite been able to do that ever. And I kind of realize now that it's not an option, because he just doesn't allow it to be.
Well, in that Capricorn moon, like, you're going to be resilient against any negative emotion that Mila might be having. You're just like, okay, you know, to be able to like have the resilience to get through it. And then the Aquarius sun, you're not attached to anything bad that happens. It's just like,
yeah, like we'll get in an argument, and he's like, anyway, and I'm like, shut the fuck up.
well, you're Leo rising, so you're gonna hold on.
I'm like, I'm not. I thought that was Cancer shit, but I'm like, I'm not over it. Why are you talking to me? Like, you're a fucking asshole.
Well, and you've also got Venus and Mercury both in Cancer or Gemini. So Gemini, like, the tool that goes with Gemini is the sword. So respect is really important to you.
Yeah.
If somebody disrespects you, you're gonna pull out the sword. But even if you get mad or you get upset, you might want to slice things off, cut relationships, break up, divorce, leave. That's something that you're here to heal in this lifetime. Yeah. And the way that you initiate romantically, sexually, touch-wise, Orlando, it's right on Mila's destiny. Yeah. Because, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and also I'm pretty stubborn in like that part right there, because it'll be times where I'll go, you know what, this is upsetting me. I'm not even going to be upset. I'm going to be happy about it. I'm going to say what I have to say, and I'm going to be happy about it. And it's like, after I say what I got to say, and if it's done, if she's upset, I'm like, so how are you feeling right now? I feel great that I got that off my chest. And it's like, because, and even if the response, like, maybe she might not be as happy, because I've already like solidified in my mind that this specific argument or whatever is not going to upset me. It's it. Yeah. It's just what it is. And so like, even and when it comes to us, if I go like, okay, how far am I willing to go emotionally with this conversation or with this anger? And once I reach that point, it's like, okay, that's it. That's all you can get out of me. Yeah. So like, I've been like very stubborn in a good way of like, okay, no, we're going to talk about this. We're going to find a healing way about this. Like, oh, you're upset. We're still going to have to talk about this and get to the point of that the heal space that we need to be in, regardless of however you feel about it. And so that's been like the stubborn positive part of like the Capricorn moon and like how
and that Aquarius sun and the Scorpio rising.
Yeah,
it's
all
like,
coming in one.
If you fall in love and you choose to dig your heels into somebody,
it's done.
There's no escape.
She's
rolling her eyes.
Explain it to her.
You don't understand. Like,
explain it for me and for everyone listening, because we want to know.
2 years ago, I called this nigga on the phone and I said, "Listen, this doesn't work out for me. This is not working out for me. There's things that it just don't align." And he said, "Okay, call me back later."
You just blew it off.
And I said, Erica's like, "Did you break up with him?" And I was like, "I did, but I don't think he got it." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "He just told me to call him back later." And then I did. He acted like nothing happened.
Nothing happened. I said, and then she was like, I was trying to, and I was like, I think you'll be fine. I think we could work. No, we'll be fine. We could work this out. And I just went along with the conversation.
And then he moved in, and I didn't actually say move in either. I was just like, come here, spend some time here.
I said, I'm going to leave. I'm going to bring it back. It's going to have half of my stuff. I'm going to be back in like 2 months. And the bag is going to have the other half of my stuff. And then I'll be with you. I'll be there in L.A. with you.
And I said you should stay here for a little while and see if you like it and, get some fresh air and rethink your life.
I liked it.
This is the sneakiest shit I have ever heard in my entire life.
But I told her. Not like I didn't tell her.
Yeah, but you, like I'm hearing it right now, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that sounds fine. But, like, the audacity and the level of what you were doing is so much bigger.
And I just wasn't.
It's just a casual conversation.
Scorpio ego.
Yes.
Mixed with this is fine for me to do it.
Lackadaisical, the Aquarius.
I'll move in with you. Yeah.
Which I'm already set in stone. Like, I like her. I can move in with her. She's the one I'm going to move in with it. Hey, guess what's going to happen? Half my clothes. Now I'm here.
I was like, you left this big ass bag in my room, and it's taking up a lot of space. And you're like, no, it's fine.
I'll be back.
I'm going to put it away when I get back.
Yeah.
So can you just explain to me what that is that you're doing? Because that's like, you're just kind of gently giving permission to what's happening to happen.
Yeah, I'm just operating through life. Because, all right, the thing about it is, right, I'm very.
We're all just like, but this is an Aquarius tool. Like, you're teaching me something about Aquariuses.
This is honestly how we are, because if I would explain this to another Aquarius, they'd be like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But to
It's
me,
one of my destiny signs, so I need to learn to be more like this.
I have learned that I give people the operation in space to deny me.
Yeah.
But people don't deny me because I'm a good person. So I've come to understand that if I'm a good person to people, they will be nice to me, and it makes them harder to be in a space of being like, nah, Orlando, that's too much, because Orlando's nice and goes out their way. So when I got to this point right here, and I'm like, you know what, I like this girl. I've been really good to this girl. I think I can operate and say, I'm going to leave my clothes here and then possibly come and move in with you, and then it'll work out. And it did work out, because me moving in is also beneficial to her. Yeah.
And you consciously know this, feel this while this is happening? Or you're just like, I guess this is happening?
I had no idea. I mean,
It's kind of like you get lost in it, and it's like you could get lost in the soup, and next thing you know, oh shit, I'm cooked.
Yeah.
I'm kind of avoidant by nature.
Well, and you got those Gemini planets. Like, your strategy is to cut.
Yeah, I'm like, he is out here. He'll just move in with her when I'm tired of it.
Yeah, and so when I've come to realize that if her usual reaction is just like cut it off. If she gets to a point where it's like it's uncomfortable, I'm just cut it off.
Getting too close, or I can't control this person, or.
But she never got to that point.
Yeah.
So it's like, as things keep going on, Orlando's nice. Orlando could come on vacation. Orlando could come stop by. Orlando could leave his clothes. I can do these things, but if you keep letting me do things, you get to a point where like, how the fuck did I get here?
Like a badass kid.
Like a bad kid.
Like a bad kid.
Yeah. But I'm a loving bad kid.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
I'm here for it. And this is where I think we got to talk, Mila, a little bit about your past life placement.
Okay.
So the past life placement's in the first house, meaning it represents Aries, the sign of doing everything by yourself, having to be hyper independent, having to take care of yourself for some reason. Like, there's no support. It's also a shadow of yours is going to be shame, anger, and even violence. So these are things that you came to overcome that.
Shame, anger, and violence?
Yes.
God damn. Okay.
But also Virgo's your other past life sign.
I feel that.
So control, OCD tendencies, perfectionistic tendencies. Tell me a little bit about how this is what's familiar. This is the camp that you come from, and then we'll talk about where you're going.
I don't know. I think I'm realizing this as I get older. I am a Cancer. I'm super free-spirited. I'm super free. I'm like, woo, whatever, you know? Tits out. But as I get older, there are things that fucking bother me. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, things that really bother me. And I'm like, this is that Virgo shit that I don't even like. Even in real life, like, if someone's like, oh, I'm a Virgo, like, I can almost sense it. Like, oh, they're really organized, or they're really, like, strict, or they really went. If someone like, oh, well, they're late, or we're supposed to have an itinerary, and I literally, like, want to back out the room slowly. Like, I do not identify with those things. Like, just fucking relax. Like, we don't need an itinerary. Let's just go with the flow. Let's meet some strangers. Maybe we'll get on the island. Maybe we'll get on a boat. I don't know. So I realized that, like, it's so opposite of how I am in this present life, but I feel it come up because when things are not exactly how I want them to be, like, I can feel the irritation and the rage. And I'm just like, bitch, we're supposed to be free and easygoing.
Yes, because the shadow for you is when you don't have control over things, you get angry. And that anger can turn into shame if you end up expressing it, and then you're like, fuck.
Why'd I say that?
Yeah, why'd I say that? Why'd I do that? Why'd I push that person away? Because the strategy with an Aries Virgo combo is like, you cut something out because you're angry at it. But the higher vibration would be to be courageous, Aries, to put it into proper order. And
say, what's going on here? Let's talk about it. Let's resolve it. But instead, I can, like, harbor it. I can be like, this means that. And then I'm like, fuck them. Yeah. And then I've made a narrative in my mind, and you've disrespected me, and it's done. It's over.
So anytime Aries or Virgo enters your life, you have, like, a divine contract to help those people stop being the negative versions of themselves. Because it's your soul's contract to stop being that way yourself.
So that's what I'm trying to heal. So
it's part of your dharma. You can do it for other people. So anytime people are dealing with shame, anger, control, perfectionistic tendencies, that's your dharma. That's what you're here to clear for people.
And I feel like I'm good at that with other people. Like, relax, breathe. But, like, with myself, I'm just like...
Well,
my house is out of order.
the life lesson is to be able to do it for yourself, others, and the world. So it doesn't matter what order you get those in, but by the end of your life, you need to have done enough of healing shame and control issues for yourself, others, and the world.
Yeah. Shame, I feel like I'm working on. I'm in the process of helping the world heal shame and within myself, but the control and the other parts, I need some.
I feel like you are fucking incredible at both.
Thanks.
You know, just you on your podcast, like the way that you talk about things, you guys are open, you make things shameless.
Trying. You know, there's always that little pinch left that makes you question yourself. Like, are we doing too much? No. But how do you heal shame without being a little shameless?
Yeah.
You have to kind of be extreme.
You
in
kind
your
of
act.
have to.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas your destiny signs are Pisces and Libra. So
wow, okay.
Libra is a sign of being in relationship to other people. So learning how to relate, learning how to develop patience, balance, understanding, justice, to be fair with the people that you love, because Pisces is the sign of love. It's also the sign of atonement. So we talk about forgiveness and apologizing. You're rolling your eyes like, ooh. And it's also seeing the big picture, the meaning behind what's happening rather than getting caught up in the details. So talk to me a little bit about how this is what you're moving towards, how you're trying to take this in more in this lifetime.
Forgiveness. I have a terrible time forgetting, which probably is tied to the forgiveness. Like,
Sure.
I don't forget anything.
Sure.
What was that? What were the other things?
It's like just being loving instead of critical.
Oh, I think I'm pretty good at this. Like, even in a quarrel or a conflict, I may be like, fuck that person for a while, and I may not ever forget. But overall, like, if someone I'm initially very close to or I've known a very long time, and sometimes, you know, this varies. Sometimes just because you've known someone a long time doesn't mean you have to hold up your friendship or your relationship. But overall, I don't prefer to have bad air with people.
Yeah.
Even if I don't fuck with you like I fucked with you, even if I want to love you from a distance, I will be the one, even if it's been a year, I'll be the one to be like, hey, what's up? Let's have a drink. Just because in my own conscience, I don't want, if anything ever happens to either of us, that's never the last, like, tune I'd like to leave out on. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty conscious of, like, especially if I get high, I'm just like, you know what, fuck it. Like, love is always the higher vibration for me, but sometimes in conflict, the details will piss me the fuck off first.
Yeah.
For maybe an extended amount of time.
Right. Well, and you've got destiny in Pisces on top of the planet Mars. So it's almost like you've been kissed by Eros, this idea of love and sensuality and pleasure and sex. That's something that you have to go way deeper into in this lifetime. So, like, some issues early on in life that might have been difficult is like achieving orgasm. Just being able to go there with yourself and then with a partner, and then getting lost in pleasure and sensuality, like giving yourself to the holiness of pleasure. Talk to me a little bit about this.
That's very much in alignment with me. Like, I know we talked about, you know, me finishing my tantric program and going through this program, which is really, like, it's been a witchy, like, rite of passage in ways.
And this is you achieving destiny, by the way. Like, that's exactly the kind of work that the universe is like, you came here for this.
Yeah, and I see, even in the work, even in the study, where, like, personally I can be avoidant of it, especially, like you said, like the personal journey to orgasm, the personal journey to pleasure that way. Like, that has been, I think, going through this process has made it really clear to me that this is not something I've explored much, and it's actually uncomfortable for me to explore.
Out of your soul's comfort zone.
Yeah,
it's territory that you've never been in any of your incarnations.
That's what we call unmarked territory.
Unmarked territory, exactly.
Which is odd, because I do feel like I'm very sexual. I do feel like I'm very sexual.
I agree.
I feel like I embody that in a lot of ways, but I think it's been outside of myself. It's always in relation to other people. So exploring that pleasure solely for myself without anyone else is a different feat. And I know it's necessary, and I know, like, that those are, like, the levels to getting to the next level in ways. And I think it has a lot to do with, like, whatever you said in my past life about being hyper independent and being, you know,
having to do it all on your own.
Having to do it on my own, because I think even with that, even when you feel hyper independent, it's often because there is a projection of really wanting partnership in a way, but being the fear of it.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, so it's like always going outside of myself for the pleasure, even though I'm like, fuck you, actually. Actually, I'm independent. I don't need you.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a push and pull constantly. Yeah.
Well, to have Libra as your other destiny sign, like this is about becoming the wife, the girlfriend, the mother, the partner, like learning how to relate to other people,
Right.
you know, and how to occupy those spaces, helping other people win their battles, working one-on-one with clients, working with groups, being a teacher, being an assistant, like that stuff. According to your past lives, maybe you were a soldier or a warrior or, you know, there's just something about being fucking tough and exact. When you threw that arrow, you needed it to hit that deer or something.
No, I feel you.
Precision and fighting and war, you're good at it. But like love and lenience and connection and helping others, slowing down, not everything has to be the battlefield. Instead, like your growth is like feeling the love of life.
Yeah. And I feel that. I feel very passionate about life and love and like I'm constantly I feel that like that pendulum swinging because I'm often reminding myself as more as I get older too is like there's nothing really to stress out about. You're actually really in a happy place. I was telling Orlando the other day he picked me up from the airport and we were driving past my old apartment that I like lived in with my like baby daddy and like I had my baby and like nothing was wrong. Nothing. And at that moment, we drove past the exit, and I was like, oh, my God, I'm, like, going to a different house with a different man, and, like, my life is so much different and, like, actually so much better, and I'm in such a happier place. And that thought made me physically release my body. And I was like, what the fuck was I even, like, tense for? But I think often I'm holding things here, not realizing it. It was just, like, that physical passing of that exit and that one thought that was like, oh wow, like look at all these things that have different in this last decade, and it made me realize how like much I'm maybe holding on to things or like my body wasn't in release. So I think there is a level of survival that I'm like, I've obviously experienced in this lifetime because I've been pretty independent, you know, since I've been 18, but an even heavier layer where I'm like, bitch, like, you're fine. You're safe now. But I think people don't really talk enough about the safety, the fear of peace. Like the
discomfort of feeling safe.
The obstacle, like, yeah, like, I have not felt safe. And so when I'm in a place where I'm like, oh, like, everything is okay. You're not in fear of something being taken away from you. Your safety is safe. I have to constantly come back to remind myself to kind of, like, push the buttons to be like...
Yeah, and we think about that Virgo South Node as like having the fried nervous system.
Oh my God.
Constantly being on edge, whereas that Pisces destiny is being able to relax. And being able to relax because you've got other people around you to support you. And maybe you can speak on that a little bit, Orlando, of like how you see her unraveling and feeling more safe with you. And
yeah, it's funny that with all these signs and like the traits that go with these signs, like how like they can come out at different times. Yeah, because when I do see her get to that point of like franticness, that's when like my free flowing of Aquarius comes out. Like, you need to chill. Like, you don't like it here, we can go somewhere else. Like, it's like that's where like, but emotionally, like, well, why don't you just choose your emotion? Like, if you feel frantic about it, why don't you just choose to be fine? Like, I can assess the space I'm in currently and then go, oh, yeah, I can be fine because I am fine. Or if I'm not fine, I was just like, I'm just going to choose to be fine because not being okay doesn't, like, really do anything for me. But when I come to her and she'll be like, oh, I feel a way about this. I'm like, that's just information.
The Aquarius, the ability to dissociate, like, that's a great skill to have too. Yeah, just to be able to say like, okay, that's just words going through my mind at this moment. Right. I can't do that. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and so it's like when I think in that moment when we were passing that exit, and I was like, you're not even there anymore. You don't even live in that. We didn't even get off the exit.
Whoa! So that's the nervous system, though. Yeah. It's like to see or to be activated by the stimulus, but he's literally trying to pull you to be like, it's not even a thing.
It really isn't.
Not. Yeah. So that's more times than none. That's like my reaction to like when things like that happen. It's like, but you're not there, but you are loved. You're not dating that person anymore. You're dating me now. So. Yeah. What's the feeling? Compare your feeling where you are right now to then, and then just stay here. But I just give like what seems like simple solutions, but it just makes sense in my head. That's usually how the reaction goes. Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense too, and it's cool because your Mars is Pisces, Mila. Your Venus is Pisces in your birth chart, Orlando. But then your Venus is, hold on. Orlando, your Mars is Gemini. And Mila, your Venus is Gemini.
Oh,
so we just swapped.
Yes.
Okay.
So you guys are like incredibly sexually compatible.
Yes. That is a fact. And
You
then
know.
that with the Scorpio rising.
Oh my
it's
God.
like-
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of chemistry there because these Gemini placements, they're very verbal, they're very communicative. They like to set a certain stage or a boundary, like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to try this, we're going to experiment with that. They're open. And it's also not the most opposed to like, let's explore around, novelty, curiosity,
Let's
like
fuck around and find out.
yes.
we do a lot of fucking around and finding out,
But you got somebody who you can do it safely with and
Yeah.
not like be concerned about it.
which is a game changer too.
I'm sure most people
We'll agree.
yes, would be like blessed to step into what you guys kind of have together.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I can't really think off the top of my head a lot of times where I will go, oh yeah, I'll just try that and then like we'll see where it goes with it. Not a lot of things in my life I would do that with except for sex. I'll be like, all right, well let's see where this goes. Like I'm just more open to like, and not just intercourse, but like sexual like spaces, sexual like experiences that doesn't have to be intercourse. Like I'm open to figuring out like where can this go as opposed to like most other things in my life.
Right. And it's like that opportunity for pleasure, sensuality.
Pleasure
it's the
part.
Scorpio and Aquarius in you. Both of those signs love sex. And they love sex with the Aquarius more so being in group environments where sex is happening.
That makes perfect sense.
I love these play parties.
It's an Aquarius space, you know, especially with throw Scorpio in the mix. There you go.
It's like a peacock.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been
Once
told.
when we were dating, I went to his play party, and I think I looked over, and he was like literally like 5 bitches, and I was like, "Whoa, this has been much for me." We were just dating. I was like, "This is probably not going to work out, but all good, brother." And the next day, we did mushrooms. He's like, What are we? And I was like, what? He's like,
After a play party.
What are we? And I was like, I just literally saw you bang 5 people yesterday. We're not anything. We're friends.
I
and
am
also
present.
we're high, so shut up.
Oh my
Later.
God.
But I was super present, super right there. And
I
what
was like,
mattered
shut
to me
up.
was her at the... And it's funny because the nomadic part of like this Aquarius is like, once we move. And then when we settle, this is it. So it's like... The night before is literally me in movement, and then us being together is like, oh, I want to be settled here with you. So, were we a thing or not? Like, huh? What you think?
No,
This
sir.
is like-
We're not a thing.
This is blowing my mind.
I-
Because
Yes.
let me get this straight. As an Aquarius, you make your mind up that that's your soulmate, and then that's it.
Regardless of what I do, regardless of what she does, this statement still stands. It's still my soulmate, so I'm still going to go about it as my soulmate. Yesterday could have been hours ago or a year ago.
What if
Still
she
that.
was completely unavailable to you for one reason or another, but you felt like she was your soulmate?
Just
There were
that
times.
there were times when I would be looking at her like, "What are you doing? Stop wasting your time."
And he
matter
just
of
did. He
fact,
just
yeah.
told me that, like, you're tripping. I'll call you back.
I'm always good for, and I always call back. Always
It's
call
like, you've
her
been
back.
acting weird. I'm like, this is guy. Like, you're acting weird. Bye. And
I'll
then but he
call you
always
back.
came
I'll
around,
get you
came back
in like a
around.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, always call back. He's still around. If I come over there, I'm staying by you, so you need to go figure it out. I'll call you back. These are all real life quotes. Yeah, so I've seen it, even before we even got together, and I would just like we were just like Instagram DMing friends, and I would see her like in a different state with somebody else. I was like, that guy's whack. DM her tomorrow.
And you just, in your mind, you're constantly like, I'm just going to keep playing my cards green in her direction until she figures it out. Is that
basically? I'm just gonna be around. Look, my initial intent for seeing her, and I told her this, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be friends with you. When I got her, we were friends. After we became friends, we hung out for like that week, and then a month after, she asked me to come to Mexico to spend another week with her friends, and we did that again. And at the end of it, I was like, yeah, you're gonna be in my life forever. Like, you'll probably be in my wedding and stuff. Like, we're gonna be in trouble. Like, don't worry about it.
so you already just knew that?
I said it, so don't worry about it. It's done.
But that's also the Aquarius ability to see with your third eye.
Yeah.
Like you see it. You're like, this is the truth.
I've been
This
trying
is
to tell her the future. I could see it. I try to tell all the time.
When he says that, how do you respond? How do you feel?
Literally, like the first time we like hung out one-on-one, we did mushrooms. It was his first time doing mushrooms, and he was so strange. He kept telling me that he was my blessing. Like, I'm your blessing. And I was like, in my head, I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, who is this guy telling me that he is my blessing?
Actual quote, I'm your blessing. You don't even know it yet, but you will see.
And I was just like, he's high and he's strange. And I was like,
strange.
That was like 4 years ago.
I was like, say what you want.
But this is why you, as a Leo rising, like somebody coming in, moving past your ego, because that's the one of the shadows, or even a tool of Leo, is that you got a strong ego. So you know who you are, you know your personality, you know how you want things. But you're dealing with somebody who's like, whatever,
bitch.
Yeah, it's just constantly
That's
discounting.
nice, babes.
Yeah, exactly. It's constantly dissolving your ego. Constantly, it's like whatever, move past it, get over it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, basically, get over it. You're fine.
We're
fine.
That's compatible right there. That's super compatible.
Yeah, it really makes me think of like, I don't know, I imagine like, you know, the White Valley girl with the bubble gum in her mouth. Like, that's nice, babe, but this is what we're gonna do, okay? So
New Jersey.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just a huge factor that keeps you two together.
Yeah, because I'm like, I could have probably been. If it was up to me, we probably been broken up a long time ago.
Yeah,
Because he's too much.
You need a partner who
Doesn't care about any of the shit I'm saying.
who holds on to you.
Yeah, and I needed someone to choose me, and I think women should be chosen. And you should be like super clear about it, because I was gonna be a hoe for life, unless someone was like super clear, like, no, this is what we're doing, and he was super super clear. And yeah, I just was like, this was the first time I was like, I'm just gonna go with the flow. We don't have to be together. I'm not pressed, but I just kept doing it, and then here we are.
So can you, Orlando, speak on how this idea of discounting the ego, whether it's your own or somebody else's, is also an act of love?
Oh, how discounting the ego is also an act of love. It's like, I guess in my head, I've always said to myself that being myself has been more positive to me than like trying to pretend, in the sense of like pretending so that everybody else can feel comfortable. So for me, I think of it as everybody's lying, right? When they get into like the egotistical part of like upping themselves, like, I feel like you're lying. Just being yourself is actually more beneficial to you, and it's more beneficial to me, because if I know who you are, I can treat you exactly who you are, instead of treating you like a person that you're acting to be. So I tried to strip the ego by telling people, just be yourself, because if you be yourself, you're going to get this great surprise of me being better to you. And then I just wait to see like people like strip down to be themselves. But it's really people think that
It's Aquarius.
Partially it is because I want to see people like be themselves, and I think that the world is better, but it's really for me to operate easier in the world. I've grew up with like people like always like faking it, or like a lot of fake relationships like around this, especially with like specifically my parents.
Right.
So I've always just viewed honesty, and a lot of lying happening around me like as I was growing up. So I always just viewed honesty and transparency as like key, and it's like what it's really needed, because it was so absent in my childhood.
Yeah.
So it growing into like, I guess, viewed as ego, like, nah, don't do that. You're doing a bunch of nothing when you could do a lot of being yourself and get further. But it's really for me to operate and understand people better, because I feel like lying has been so detrimental to me. But it's just like a two birds one stone type of thing, where it's like, oh, okay, now you get to strip your ego and be yourself, and everybody's happy.
My god.
Yeah.
I've never felt safer and more triggered
Yeah.
to look at myself and to ask myself and to question myself and to be like, is this how I really feel, or is this fear, or is this pain, or is this hurt, or is this jealousy, or are these things stemming from old wounds that do not have anything to do with where I actually and who I actually am and how I actually feel.
Right.
So I'm constantly like, ugh, this is annoying, but also it's healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and what does it do for you to be in that realm, that arena with him? Like, how do you change?
I just have to have a lot of conversations with myself, a lot of conversations with myself, and choosing, like, do I want to hold on to this, or do I want to move forward? And is it worth moving forward? And I think sometimes we're often in relationships with people who, when you put up the walls or you are like over them, they often have given you a lot of reasons to do that. And so it's easy to chop it up. But when you have someone who really loves you and really wants, your relationship to progress and is going to love you to death, you don't really have a reason to move that way, and you have to be real with yourself. Like, there's been a lot of times I'm like, I'm gonna break up with him. I'm like, that'd be stupid.
And were you ever with somebody else while you guys were knowing each other? I mean,
yeah, I dated other people. I moved this other guy in with his dog. Orlando didn't love that. He was crazy.
but
Wasn't
you
even here.
but you were like, she'll get over it.
Yeah, he would just check on me.
Because she belongs to me. Like, you just knew it.
She belongs in my life, and this operation right here isn't conducive to her being in my life, so I knew it was going to work.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I would tell the guy, I was like, I have another guy, and he's totally different than you, and I just want you to know that you're here right now, but I do have somebody else who's way better. He's just not here. I would, like, put it out there, and I knew it was like there's a time thing happening. Like, I knew it was like a lesson, a soul lesson that I needed to have, and... yeah, Orlando was just waiting.
That was it. And then when she came in, he was still in LA. And when she came and visit New York, and we saw each other, it was like, baby, sweetheart, come, baby. He's stressing you out over there.
Oh,
You know, you shouldn't be doing that. You know, you shouldn't be doing it. You need to be home with me.
see.
Yeah.
So, do you guys believe in soulmates?
I think I believe in multiple soulmates.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
But I think I do. I mean, I haven't felt. And sometimes I'm, like, so fearful. I'm like, don't say that. But, like, I haven't felt this, like, destined for a particular person ever. You know what I mean? Like, this, like, everything that happened in this journey was super, like, what are the fucking chances of us meeting and, like, being so similar in certain ways and this being super ourselves and super authentic and super kind of wild and crazy people? Like, you're fucking 5 people at one time and I'm here and I'm like, ugh, that's who I'm dating, but I gotta go, guys. And also dating other people, you know, like, just being able to be really, like, upfront. There was a time, like, he called me and we were together, but we were long distance. And he's like, oh, I had sex with the coat check girl. And my first instinct was like, nope, don't like him. He's done. Like, why would you have fucks with this coat check girl? Like, why is this necessary? And in that moment, I had to ask myself, like, do I not love him anymore? And I was like, I don't not love him anymore. And I was like,
Oh,
whatever. I just kept going on the conversation. Like, I was so bothered, but I was like, whatever. What am I going to do? Like, I'm not going to break up with him. So I just pushed past that. And it was the first time I've ever been in a relationship that I was like, I removed the ego and just... And some people could take that and be like, that's a red flag, girl. And sometimes it is a red flag, bitch. But sometimes it's just, do you care enough or is it that important to you?
right.
And I could say, like, I don't think that was necessary. And he's like, probably not.
Right.
And then we can move forward, you know?
I worked under, I had a mentor who was a sex therapist. And she said, if you love somebody so much, don't you want them to have the freedom to explore whatever it is that they want to? As long as they're not lying to you or somebody else. You know, he's being totally.
And I've been lied to, and I was like, he's not even lying.
No, he's just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest game changer because I came from a background, my parents, till this fucking day, lying and arguing and carrying on for years and years and years. It's like what I was born into. But they love each other. They won't leave each other for God knows what. But constant fucking lying and just kid shit. High school students with who are adults. And I was just like, I'm not doing that. And that's kind of why I shied away from relationships. I shied away from like marriage. I'm just like, I'm not begging anyone for honesty. So when it comes and there's like, oh, I'm so honest that I had sex with a coat check girl. I'm like, oh God, I asked for this, right? I asked for this honesty.
Right.
So what am I going to do with it? Am I going to like be angry at what I asked for, or am I going to just like be grateful for the honesty and then move past whatever I thought the permanent feelings were that were just temporary?
Yeah. Now, as an Aquarius, do you find the deeper in love you fall in love with Mila, the less you want to explore other people?
Obsessed with her. Every minute that goes by, I'm more obsessed I get. And I tried to come up with a word, like really find a definition word to explain like how I'm feeling towards her, and I was like, it's obsessed. Because it's like the nomad like freedom mind state that like once we really settle, that's it. This is the land. This is the oasis in the Sahara Desert. Like, we're good right here. We can build right here. And it's like, it doesn't matter who's out there. There's nobody I'm going to have a relationship at the level that I'm having this relationship that I can do it with.
So nobody
her.
could come and break that.
Yeah. And so because, like, I'm good and I'm settled here, like, now I'm going to do everything I can right here. I don't need to split my time between loving her and then finding intimacy, then finding romance because I might not get it everywhere else.
Right.
No. We're gonna get everything right here, and we're gonna open up organically, so you can be more of yourself. You can be more loving, and then I can receive more love, right? And this is just like where I stand with it, where I just feel more comfortable that I like being obsessed with her, like, because I get to give and pour in more and feel good about it, regardless of like how it comes back to me. Like, that's the great part of the obsession. I'm not worried about it being transactional. That obsessed that I just want to give to this space right here, regardless of whatever I get back from it. Yeah, very obsessed.
Man.
Don't need
okay.
nothing else. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
it's kind of a perfect match when we look at the majority of the different planets between the two of you guys. I mean, you're Scorpio rising. Mila, in your birth chart, you've got Jupiter in Taurus. So that's like having 4 planets in one sign, Taurus. And that rules his realm of relationships. So you're bringing a lot because you know chaos, Orlando.
Yes.
You're Scorpio rising.
Oh,
chaos,
beautiful.
change, instability, all of that.
Yeah.
Whereas Mila, you've got Jupiter in Taurus. You like stability. You like it in your work. You like routine. You like predictability. You don't like surprises. So you bring stability to his life in like tenfold.
And that's what I need, because I'm definitely like a chaotic like movement. But it's like, I like to say, like, I do toxic things in a very healthy way, right? So it's like,
What?
I
Most Aquarius said thing ever.
Yeah, right. But in the example of like the co-check girl, right? It's like we were non-monogamous at the time. I was literally leaving the party,
Right.
and I stopped to have sex with the co-check girl. And I know I didn't need to, but because we're in a non-monogamous relationship, and I can, and also I don't really need to express it to you, but because we're so communicative, I'm like, hey, I'm communicating with you. I did something unnecessary. Here's the information. And it's like, this could come all across as very toxic, but we're communicating. We're transparent.
So you know
right?
he won't lie to you.
Yeah, but it's also like, she might be pissed about this, but I'm going to go about it the right way. And so that's how I'm like, I can go about like real toxic things in a very healthy way.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I could be like, was that necessary? Do we need to do that?
No.
But
What was your drive? What was your drive?
Experience.
Novelty.
That's
Yeah.
it. Like,
There's something
and
new.
that's-
You were in the open space.
Right. But and instead of like maybe like, oh shit, she seems upset. Nah, I mean, it wasn't that serious. It's like, no, I just wanted the experience. Oh, you feel the way about it? I apologize. I'll be more thought into it. So anyway, tell me about your night.
And then you just move right past it.
Move on.
Damn, Aquarius is just move on. Don't bring up
keep
the
it.
negative thing again.
Yeah, they're done.
If we're past it, why?
Well, but you find a way to get past it. You're saying if we're past it, you might be past it. She's holding on, and then you get her past it.
Yeah, but and then it's like, okay, well, you want to then talk about it. It's like I might not be ready to talk, but talking is the healthy thing to do. So it's like I'm going by
So fucking Aquarius.
It's the craziness, it's the madness, the chaos. But
Madness.
It's also brilliant, though.
right. But to say that in the way that she brings like stability to it, it brings me back to the space of going, okay, have some discernment, right? And
Yeah.
have some like respectability, like politics with it to understand and know. Yeah, you might be saying like, hey, these are the right things to do and how we should go about it, but it might not be like the right space and the right time, and the tone and coming across it might not be the right space. So just like you said, yeah, you have found a way to get past it, and then you're putting in, okay, we're past it now. It's like you have to be able to understand that people might need the extra space and time where it might not be logical.
Right.
So and then her being like the emotional space have made me understand that with understanding emotions a bit more, because now I'm talking about emotions even more. So she brings that like structure and stability of like saying like, hey, there's feelings that go into this, not just some logical, we expressed, we're transparent, we talked, we're past it. Like, that's not the natural movement of things. There's emotions that's like tied in here, and that's what like helps ground me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, I think this might be a good place for us to talk a little bit about your destiny, Orlando. So your past life sign in your birth chart is Cancer.
Wow. Who
Interesting,
knew?
right? But your destiny is Capricorn.
So opposites.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So Cancer past life, but it's in the 9th house, also behaving like Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Cancer, the energy of like intimacy, emotionality, sensitivity, vulnerability, but your moon is in Capricorn. So we always check what's the moon doing in the birth chart. So you have a moon that's conjunct Uranus, meaning you are just like don't want to hold on to anything. You don't like to form intimate connections to anything. There's a preference for just pure freedom.
Yes.
But then that Sagittarius is also the trickster, the wild, crazy partier, go larger than life. Yes. Like, so your comfort zone is being non-attached and as pleasure-seeking, hedonistic as possible. That's your soul's comfort zone.
Yeah.
Whereas your destiny's actually, it's in Capricorn in the 3rd house. So Capricorn is your moon. So that means you have to work on this problem or this challenge in your life of not being attached to anything. And then the 3rd house is learning how to communicate. It's behaving like Gemini. Mila, you've got 2 planets in Gemini, so you can teach him. And he'll do it. And he'll do it for you. Well, it sounds like he's learned a lot already.
He has. His communication is probably a little bit better than mine. I like think about things for 12 to 14 business days. And then I'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Well, my communication is better because of you, because you've given me a reason to communicate, right? Like before, my communication actually wasn't that great. Like I said, it's like, all right, this has run its course. Let's find a way out of here. And it's like, instead of having this extra communication of saying, hey, I felt the way about this, and maybe like we can work on this and go a little further. It's like, nah, it's time. Let's ease our way out. And my communication would be a communication of like ending things. Like every conversation past that is, oh, you want to hang out next week? Let me see, because I might be too busy. Everything is about like weeding down and weeding my way away out of this. Where, as with you, everything is about, okay, this is going to go on for a long time. How can I make sure that this muddy or bad part exists as short as possible? Right. So like that's the difference in like communication now. It's like before I'm just like trying to talk and get myself out. Now it's like I'm trying to talk and figure out how I can keep this relationship at the level that it's at as long as possible.
Yeah. Another way of thinking about your destiny is developing resilience to handle duality. So what I mean by that is having thick enough skin to deal with difficult situations. When people want to break up, split, divorce, whatever, you've got thick enough skin that somebody can cut you in half and you're like, are we done?
Yes. That's me. That is me. And it's funny, not to get too morbid, but it reminds me of, it just reminds me of, like, I was an emergency responder when I was working.
No way.
Yeah,
that's a very Capricorn North Node thing.
Yeah. 1, I was an emergency responder for the MTA, and 2, I loved working alone.
Okay.
So I would respond to emergencies, and one of the emergencies would be like people that get hit by the train.
Right.
And I just remember literally seeing somebody split and open and going, all right, got to do my job.
You've got resilience to handle duality.
Do a lot of
I would have
things.
had to take off time, had just therapy on the job. Like, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Well, because it's the feelings aren't supposed to dictate you in this lifetime. You're supposed to actually move past your feelings in order to do what's respectful or what's honorable or...
Yeah, I tend to emotionally see the bigger picture of things. Yeah. Like, the thought of, like, would you... I guess this is easy, but, like, would you like sacrifice somebody that you really love to save the rest of the world? And it's like, maybe.
Yeah.
Like initially I would go like, no, I don't want to lose this person, but I can see, feel, and understand the grand scheme of, and of course the whole world is like a really like exaggerated point, but like even on a smaller scale, I can understand that you may be sad or upset, but there's a bigger picture here that can happen of more people that will be happy, that produce more happiness in the world. Yeah. Like, that's just like my way of thinking about things.
Well, and if we think about the Cancer South Node, the past life placement, it's really close to this asteroid Chiron, which is our greatest wound. So Cancer on the South Node, your family, coming from a wounded family dynamic.
Yes.
And it's your destiny is to leave your family and to create yourself. So that's what your work is.
Yeah, and once again, moving
away from. But also, given that Mila has so many Gemini, two Gemini planets, it's like moving towards her as well, and like learning, okay, how do I move into this? Because maybe things were super undefined in your family, constant chaos, maybe being surrounded by addiction or abuse or missing people, something along those lines, absence.
Yeah.
Whereas Mila brings definition. That's part of the reason why you might like her so much, is because there's no mystery.
No. Another quote that I've actually told her when we first hang out, the first day we met that night, she had said that I'm a witch. And initially, I never had anybody tell me like just straight up like, I just want to let you know I'm a witch.
It's like my whole community, girl. I'm
Right.
like, get it, come on, come through.
Welcome.
Yeah, join the club.
So when she told me that, I told her like afterwards, I was like, one of the things that really drew me to you was that the fact that you just said like I'm a witch. I didn't know what it meant at the time. I didn't understand the gravity of it, but the fact that you were able to say
She was able to
this
define
is
herself.
who I am, I
Yep.
was like, I fuck with you.
And that's what you're doing in this lifetime. Because
Yeah.
Capricorn's a sign of finding yourself. The third house, or Gemini, is a sign of defining yourself. So that's what your lesson is, to figure out who you are and then label it.
Yeah.
So it's a big life lesson.
I-
You got
I-
a great partner to help you.
I do feel that we are supposed to change the dynamic of our family, trajectory together. I feel like united in that forefront where we're clear that we came from families that may have had a lot of chaos or a lot of lack of communication, a lot of lack of honesty, and we were like moving together into individually and together like healing those wounds, and in a family component, and a romantic but also like in a family unit as well.
And and that movement like really gets me going. It's like I not in a like perverse like horny way, but I really get turned on by like moving towards something, or moving away from something else. Like if I'm getting further away from like where I was before, he's up moving towards like this upgraded version of me, and that like really gets me going. Really feels good for me, so it really pushes me to keep going and doing things. Yeah.
Well, the individual charts are incredibly powerful. We see compatibility on both sides between the two of you. We have to look at now what's known as the composite chart. So you're the individual ingredients. When we bake them up together, what are we getting? So when I look at the composite chart, you guys have one of the most challenging aspects that can exist between two people. This is known as the Grand Cross. And yet,
Jesus.
the Grand Cross also represents, let's put it this way, love is a rose. Roses have thorns. If you can get through the thorns with each other, you will have that love eternally. And this is one where it's like, ooh, maybe you are soulmates. Maybe there is a bit of that, because, or even what's known as the twin flame. I mean, if you've heard of this concept, the twin flame is where you are faced up against all of your shadows, every shortcoming, every ego thing, and you have to obliterate or annihilate the ego in order to have union. And you guys had periods where you were coming undone and back together. So when we look at this composite chart, that Grand Cross is saying there are some significant challenges. You guys are going to hit the snag again and again. But if you move through these challenges, you get basically like eternal love.
Beautiful.
So
Good thing we're in.
Before I even go into any of it, I mean, there's a couple great themes that pop up. So Scorpio is really important in the composite chart. We've got Pluto, the planet of transformation and death and intensity, with the moon, which is your instincts, the way that you feel, your reactions. So the two of you are clearing out generational trauma that was inherited from your families that are playing out in your relationship. So maybe you can talk a little bit about like, well, this relationship is different than my family dynamic because...
You want to go first?
We're honest.
We're together.
We're just honest about who we are in general, and our desires and our fantasies, and like who we are in the light and who we are in the dark, and just who we are, like the parts of me I don't maybe fuck with that much, but I'm working working on it, and the parts of me that I love, and you know what I mean? And it's a constant dance. But and I think we're different than our parents because we're clear about what we want, and we're willing to go about obtaining that dynamic in a healthy way. And that's the biggest shit. And just being fucking loyal.
I would say that we are different from our parents because we are not distracted. Seeing my mom chased my dad for a very long time, for years, and seeing her do that, and my dad wasn't that great of a person. right? Regular guy, but in the grand scheme of like love, it's like not the person that you would want to like go after. And watching my mom do this for years, I realized that she chased the thought of love more than realizing that the type of person that she was chasing. And I just realized you were really distracted. You were distracted from your family, which is me. You were distracted from like your own like how you looked doing this. Like you were distracted from shame. Like you were distracted from so many things that could have deterred you from going about this and could have made you have like a better livelihood. And that distraction from you were distracted from all these things that you needed by focusing solely on how bad you wanted love from this one man. And so for me, I realized that I had to stay focused on what I wanted from the relationship, and actually who the person that I'm dating. And that I also started to realize a lot in like adulthood with people that want love so bad, they don't even realize the person that they're asking to love them, and then what kind of person that is, and what they're actually asking for. And so when it came to Mila, I really paid attention to the type of person she is and the type of person that she was saying she is. She's a witch. Okay. I never did one of those before, but all right, I'm going to accept that. And because I can accept that you said that, and if some witchy shit comes and happens, then I'm going to have to accept that it happens. I'm not going to act weird and strange. Also, you've told me who you are. That's a turn on already. So like all these things that happened, it gave me a clear, distinct information on who I was dating, and it made me be clear and distinct and understand who I was dating, so I wasn't distracted by thinking like, what are you? Who are you? Are you actually being who you are? Are you actually being truthful? It was very clear from the beginning, and that clarity helps out a lot. And so that's how I think like my relationship with Mila is much different from my own parents, and why it's even more attracted to me, because we're not distracted by all the outside noise of what love should look like, or relationship should look like, or how I should treat you. We've come up with it on our own. It's customized. We've said like we've customized our relationship,
right?
And it's about us. It's not about anything else that happens. It's just about who you are, who I am, and how we're going to love each other as being who we are.
As humans.
Yeah.
So that's one of the benefits of having this Moon-Pluto conjunction. It's escaping the generational trauma. One of the pitfalls is trying to manipulate each other. So manipulation can be a theme that, especially in the beginning of the relationship, runs really strong. And it's like control, manipulation, getting things to be the way that you want them. That's a big theme for you two to watch out. Like the more you try to manipulate the other person, it's because you want their love, and you don't want to do anything to lose their love. And this can be one of the best aspects for sex. It's an incredibly intense,
fiery,
sexual, passionate. But once it gets into territory of like, oh, I'm going to like do this so that they respond this way, and then constantly forcing one or the other person to be going against their own will or what they actually want.
Learned that that's not helpful early in the relationship. Actually, no. So I learned that lesson early. Like trying to be in a space where I'm saying like, do this is gonna work. It's got to be by like an example, or I'm just gonna have to like start things flowing. Just from my point of view, just start things flowing is the easier way to get things done than just being like, I need you to do this, or just being in control of the situation, or like what do you call it?
Puppeteer?
Like being a supervisor or a puppeteer of the situation is
but this is actually also very positively aspected to your both individual growth. By not doing this in this relationship, you both stop trying to control outside factors in other areas of your life. So that's like one of the most beneficial things. We also have the Sun, Mars, and Venus all in the same part of the birth chart. So this is known as the lover's stellium. So when it comes to sex, love, relationship, intimacy, this is super easy for you guys to go there. The fact that Mars is here in the mix as well, there can be fighting or bickering or like that kind of stuff, but it gets worked out through sex really easily. So this is not so much
great lovers,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, incredible lovers. I mean, you guys speak the same love languages, so and that makes sense because we had the Venus and the Mars and the Pisces and the Gemini. You know, you're already working with the same ingredients. Where things start to get tricky is when we think about how Mercury is aspected in the birth chart. So definition, labeling, communication, like this is the biggest challenge in your relationship. Labeling and communicating and defining things, which we've talked a lot about this already. But making sure that there's honesty, clarity, that there's no lying, which you guys are also saying is a big theme that the two of you have worked on. But most of all, like not slicing each other in half either, or having too fierce of boundaries where you lose the other person. Right. So Mila, maybe you want to jump in.
I think because we started pretty honest and as friends, we've been pretty transparent with each other. And I think that's like, I really, in this relationship, it's been clear to me that that's what people are missing. Like, you come in and you try to be all cute and shit. You try to write, you know, you're making a profile, essentially, this avatar of yourself who you think other people want to see and experience. And then, you know, 3 weeks down the road, you're acting fucking wild, dancing on tables. Like, who is this bitch? You know, and then people are confused. So I think that's been one of the aspects that's been really, like, a game changer for us, is, like, we showed up, like, almost super extreme. This is me! You know, like, can you handle it? And like, no, you know, and like, but both that way. And so it was kind of like, even when I wanted to be like, fuck him, I'm like, God, but I'm kind of like that. Like, God, I kind of do that. Like, I'm kind of a hoe too, you know? So there's constantly a constant, like, I don't know, it was just honest, you know, and it was just like non-judgmental. I know I can come to him and be like, this is who I am. This is what my desire is. And it kind of, we've kind of like, come to each other as humans and not as versions of like what we wrote down on a piece of paper as to what we wanted.
Right.
And so like I realized that I can't create a profile and then he's going to come meet me in the street and be my husband. It's going to actually have to be a person, and that person's going to have some things that I didn't expect, or I wasn't on my fucking list, you know, because I'm not God. I don't create people. I just, you know, get to be on earth and then experience the people and like get to keep the people that work for me. And so that's been a big thing. And like we had a reading. I think he had a reading, and she compared our charts, astrology reading in there, and she said that like sexually we heal every time we fuck. And I feel that. And I feel like as soon as we did have sex, like even in a friend space, because we were just fucking around, it was like our bodies communicated to each other in a way that was like, this feels familiar. Am I supposed to do this? And it was just kind of like, that was really the unraveling of like somewhere our souls needed to meet in that process, and it's just continued to be that way. Yeah, where it's like there's all of the things can come, like all of the shed, like all of the barriers, all of the masks were able to come down for us to meet in this very like clear, almost like psychedelic place. You know, I mean, like yes, on mushrooms, but clearly like oh, this is what this shit is about. Yeah. Yeah, like just figuring it out, even though it's not always going to be perfect. You're not going to be exactly who I want you to be. Like you might be fucking the coat check girl, you might be peacocking at a sex party. Like I didn't sign up for any of this shit. This is not on my list of what I wanted in a husband. But there's all these other things that are there, and like, am I willing to love this person? Not despite those things, but in addition to those things, and understand that, like, yeah, I like to actually be fucking too, and sometimes randomly, and not because I have a good reason, you know, just because sometimes I wanted to do it, you know. And so it's been, that's been, I think, our love language is like authenticity.
When I think about the two of you coming together in this way, you've created a relationship that speaks to the fact that no one's perfect, and you without your ego being intact, accept the other person for who and what they are. And that's why the relationship works.
Or in my head, we're both perfect, and we have to find each other for the perfection to like really.
That is so much better. Oh my God.
That's how I work.
Do you think that way, Mila?
I don't, but I'm working on it.
She did, but there was a real conversation when I was like, you have to understand, like, this is perfect. We just never met perfection before, so you just got to get used to it. It was like,
and that has been a lot of it when you come from like not healthy relationships from parents. You haven't seen healthy relationships. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to mimic something I've never experienced or seen? And like, how am I supposed to feel safe if that's never what I've experienced? But, you know, and in this process, I'm like, oh, no, I do deserve this happily ever after. No, I do. Like, oh, this is how life is supposed to be. And I don't need to worry about where you're at, what time you're coming home, or who you're with, because I already know, you know. And so I think that there has been a level of just in the marathon of peace that I'm like, oh, yeah, like, this is what it's like, you know, to just love a human and accept them in all of their essence.
Yeah. And the last thing that I kind of want to jump in on in the composite chart is the two of you, your collective past life sign, the two of you together is Leo. And
That
your
makes
destiny
sense.
sign is Aquarius. And it's at 22 degrees on both sides, the master number. So
22.
You're here to learn. Yeah, that's right. You're here to learn a master lesson through each other about dissolving the ego. Dissolving the way that you think things are supposed to be, because the highest vibration of Aquarius, enlightenment, to become as light as possible, means that you're not attached to what it looks like. The only thing you're attached to is where the love exists in the relationship.
That feels like a big theme of our relationship. Always, it's just like moving toward what's best for us, what's best for the growth, like what's real. You know, we could live in a fantasy world and be like, I would ideally like you to be like this and show up at 8 and do this. And like, but realistically, like knowing the people that we are individually, like what is an actual realistic version of what our family looks like. And I think that's been a beautiful thing because we can fucking party all night till 7 a.m. and then like come like when then we'll sleep and then we're like, oh, gotta go take the kid to school. You know what I mean? Like we're very logistically balanced. Yeah. You know, it'll be like bike riding on Friday at the club. You know what I mean? On Saturday. You know, and it's a constant ebb and flow of just like pleasure and discipline and family and adulthood and you know sex and all these things like all these and indulgence and discipline and so. We're constantly like weaving these things together into form, you know, because I think a lot of times as humans, we're talking about and we're programmed. It's talking about, you're just talking about, what were you saying about women? I think women have this idea of what love and long-term relationships are supposed to be like, and it's kind of been drilled in us since we're little girls, and so men can kind of flow, and women are, like you said, your mom, that's what it was. Your mom is so in love with the idea of love that she just abandoned all fucking logic. I mean, and honestly, my mom too, and so I think those are big, strong presence in our lives that we're like, not going to repeat that. But as a woman, you know what I mean? I think it's an important thing to like not, because I see a lot of women get lost this way because we're more programmed that way since childhood that we're supposed to be married and to be valued and deserving and like abandon all logic. Like every guy is not your husband and like particularly not the one you've been dating for 10 years. But we abandon that because we want love. And it's just like I've always refused that. But coming into this relationship and just removing the need to like adhere to any standards, stereotypes about like what a wife looks like or our family or mom looks like, you know, like I'm not buttoning up my sweater to go bake a cake tonight because it's just not going to happen, maybe next week or something. But you know, there's just like a level of openness and transparency that we've been able to embody together, which I think a lot of women don't get the opportunity to do, and a lot of men too. Men can't cry in front of their bitches. He'll cry all morning, you know, no words. And it's fine. Or he'll cry and be like, I love you so much. I'm like, really? Right now? Okay, well, that's beautiful. You know? And there's just like there's nothing held back. It's just like, I'm feeling weird or this is where I'm at. And sometimes it takes time for me to like get it out. But for the most part, I know it's always going to be received and welcomed in safe space and like in love.
Yeah.
I like to sometimes think of it as, how can we realistically get to our fantasies? And so that's how I like to see it. Oh, and another thing when you were saying about like the challenges and stuff like that, there was a point where I realized like, you know, maybe between us like arguing may not ever stop, but
it will probably always be present based on the chart.
Yeah, but I realized that we have come up with so many different exercises that can make the arguments and disagreements so much shorter and so much smaller. Them. Yeah, so much smaller than they need to be. And that also goes into her tantric, I guess, learnings and like practices where like even things like tantric speech of like how to communicate with each other and using like certain words and like just like certain verbiages of like how we express our selves to each other is so much more helpful to keeping us at our normal state or getting us back to our normal state. So it's why one of the things I love about like her tantric practice and how we're able to use it in our actual relationship to overcome the challenges that we even see in our birth chart. Yeah.
Well, and just because the challenges are there, those are the thorns. Love is a rose. Yeah. If you're going to love somebody, no one's perfect. There's always going to be something wrong with somebody. So if you love them, just love them.
Right. And then in my mind, it's like, you're a rose with a thorn. It's fine. I got two hands. Oh, both my hands are cut. It's fine. I put it in my teeth like Zorro. Like there's always something else we can do. We can switch hands. We can switch the environment. Like there's always something we can do to make the shit work. But it's just.
We don't have to abuse each other in the process.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any other like long-term couples that I need to know if there's any long-term successful couples that have this cross, this specific cross. I want to know what it looks like when you get to the rose part. I mean, I don't know if that's an
It's more like when people have a more standardly, traditionally compatible relationship, that's when you're going to see the two kids, the house, the stable careers, like the incredibly traditional setting, non-monogamous, like those are
monogamous,
or excuse me, monogamous. Those are the more traditionally compatible birth charts. But you guys have a different lifestyle. You have different morals and values and things that like you see the bigger picture. And in fact, the age of Aquarius, our world is supposed to evolve in this direction because love is not about controlling somebody, keeping them captive. You guys are actually moving in the right direction. That's why your destiny sign is Aquarius at 22 degrees.
The alignment.
Because not only are you have love that's more free and flexible and understanding that life just fucking happens, but also you're literally broadcasting it to the world.
Yeah.
So the destiny of the relationship is to bring the future to the world.
From afar.
But honestly, it's time to break this shit open. And you know, and to your point about traditional relationships, and obviously they have conflict too.
Yeah.
I do feel like this type of love, not to knock anyone in a very traditional 2-house white picket fence, whatever, not 2-house, 2-kid white picket fence lifestyle, but that it sometimes when things are safe, you're not going to be challenged with things that are extreme.
Right.
And so as long it's like living in a house and never going out to the street. Of course, you're going to probably be safer. You're in a monitored environment. And not saying everyone should be just like us, but that like I think it's worth extending your idea of what the house looks like, going into the street, going across the street, going to the next city over, you know, and then it expands the love and the wherewithal of your relationship what it can withstand, because you're not containing it to this little small like blimp of existence because that's what's safe and because the rules say don't do that, you know. But if you're like, let's go venture across the street together, you know, like if you can
what else is out there?
What else is out there? And you know, sometimes it comes with things that you weren't prepared for, but if you're like in a strong place and have a strong foundation, then it's going to always continuously expand you.
Yeah. And I like to think that God knows every narrative of every person's life. God doesn't care if you're a porn star or a nun or a fireman, whatever. God doesn't care. God loves all people. At least this is my belief.
Absolutely. You think God made porn and people and said, here's a tequila, don't touch it. Like, I never understood that. I'm like, there's no way God made tequila and the dance floor and a bunch of other recreational fun things.
Ideas.
That's why temperance is a virtue, knowing how much or how little of something you can do and still be okay. So if all of these lifetimes of narratives are real, imagine if somebody gets incarnated in their next lifetime, they were just a really staunch Catholic who believed in monogamy and blah blah blah, and all of a sudden they're incarnated into a life where they have to break that paradigm. I mean, you guys are here to help people see that there's a way to love that doesn't have to follow tradition. Aquarius is not the sign of tradition. No, that's Taurus territory.
No. And I've noticed that in like how I go about things, and when I break away from shit that I don't like, it's like I don't care. Oh my gosh. There was a meme that on the internet, right? And it's one person facing like 1,000 people. Okay. And it says Aquarius, and the one person is looking at all of them going, "You're all wrong." And I was like, this is literally the perfect example of I don't care how many people is in front of me. You're all wrong. The way I'm going about it is right. And the only reason why my way is right is because my way is customized.
Wow.
Everybody else is following a rule book. And you've all got to be wrong. And it's just funny that you that you say that. It's like, yeah, that's how I go about things or how I think about things. It's like regardless of how long this tradition has been going on, I can start a fresh start right now.
Yeah, you can make a new tradition.
And we're really, and honestly, I'm saying we're wild and crazy. We're very traditional people. Like I said, like Christmas.
It's a blend.
It literally is both.
Yeah.
We're very traditional people. We're going on camping trips, family vacations.
Our foundation is very traditional.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, to explore and to go to play parties and to be able to communicate about, like, hey, this and this.
Right.
Like, you guys are actually in the marriage between tradition and innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the truth for all human beings in their soul's development is to get closer to this.
Yeah.
Because we want to be able to love people and accept people. And if you love somebody enough, you want them to be able to explore for themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. This is like, life is not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. Not for anything. And as long as we like start cutting that shit out and realizing everyone's shit looks different, everybody's relationship with themselves, like the one rule is that you cannot control or own anyone, and that will do you no satisfaction or good if you continue that way. You will not have control over another human being, not even your fucking kids.
Yep. In the way I'm always so open to letting go and control. I've had this idea recently that I don't mind 2025 starting at 0. Like New Age.
Yeah.
Like I was like, the person that come up with BC and AD, was it Aquarius? Because who just said like, hey, we're starting flat.
Right.
Starting fresh.
Well,
and
supposedly
we're one.
the AC stands for after, or AD, after death,
and
the death
BC
of
is
Christ.
Before Christ. They changed it to CE and BCE.
Really?
Yeah, it's before Common Era and Common Era now.
Oh, I thought it was like
taking the religion out of it.
But isn't it like, well, we're late for that. But isn't it like Christ's enlightenment?
Right.
If you know, it's not necessarily like Jesus on the cross as it is like Christ enlightenment,
Right,
which is like Buddhist, like
Yeah.
Buddha, like love.
Amen.
Don't believe in Buddhism, but also enlightenment.
Well,
Well, Buddhism is a practice.
No, I'm
Yeah,
talking
it's
about I'm talking about Christianity. It's
Oh,
like,
I see
yeah,
what you're saying.
we're also enlightened, but also don't believe in their enlightenment.
Yeah,
It's like,
God.
whatever.
You know, the religion gets so stupid. Everything's the same shit.
But anyway, the point is like the fresh start, the breaking away from traditions. Like I'm always okay with whatever newness has to come, just so like everybody could be in a better place. That's perfectly fine. We could let all that shit go that happened before.
Amen.
Start it fresh.
Orlando's very futuristic with his thinking.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is kind of like the button on the birth chart. You guys are just here to show the world
Be an example.
what a more balanced relationship looks like. It's the balance between tradition and innovation.
Yeah, and everybody can have a love like this.
Amen.
I'm here for that, and I feel called to that. I feel like we go out in public and people are like, "How long have you guys been together?" And
A few
I'm like,
lifetimes.
Probably.
Yeah.
Honestly.
There's a lot of relationships lacking like intimacy and lacking fun, lacking pleasure, and it's like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is the point if we're not like deeply? I mean, we're not always gonna be. deeply madly in love. I feel like I'm always gonna be deeply madly in love. I'm not always gonna like you, but I think people
But you
forget
always
that like
love 'em.
you are allowed to have this like rom-com fairy tale ending, and it should be chemistry all the time. You should get your ass slapped. You should want to make out in the street, because what the fuck else is the point?
Life's too short.
Life's too short if it's not romantic and it's not like juicy and filled with like pleasure and fun and like
Yeah.
always. I don't care how old we are. I hope to always have new experiences and make new memories and like
And you
do
will.
fun shit with you.
Yeah, and we will. Yeah. Life too short, death too close.
Amen.
Danny, do you have anything else that you could tell us from this paper with all our stars and planets on it?
Well, the big wound for the both of you, we've got Chiron, which represents the greatest wound. It's in Cancer in the composite chart. So the family wound being the recurring theme between the two of you. And it's also the wound in both of your birth charts. So
My Chiron is also in Cancer.
and it's right conjunct your sun, which I didn't notice before, but that's like the father wound specifically. So like a big pain there of like not being seen or not being acknowledged by the father in your chart. But it's just the energy that both of you, like, you're here to heal that wound in the relationship. Like, go ahead.
No, I was. The thought just popped in my mind that I don't know why it feels like this the wound of the world. Like everybody has like.
We all come from some kind of damaged family.
Everybody's
yeah.
Chiron somewhere.
Right.
Right.
Especially now where I feel like this is the the children of the damaged family switching around and like healing everything. I think that's where like where we are right now. Like, oh, everybody realized everybody's family as a collective had something like pretty fucked up, and this is where we're making the transition to like better family life, and we are just like I guess a microcosm of like the grander scheme of like how
what's
we can
happening
help.
in the world.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So when I think about like this family wound, I know me and Mila have our own specifics, but I also think about on a worldly view and how like us being an example on like under the light of like our own love, and it is how everybody else can go about healing and like getting into a better space with their own wounds or like this world wound that we have.
Yeah, and the placement of that Chiron, it's at the top of the chart, so it's like the thing that the world sees the most from you two. You know, it's like, oh, those are two people that have come from a wounded background that actually have healed it.
Yeah.
You know, so you show that it's possible.
I'm pretty sure all of our friends can't quite understand how the two crazy people from a kind of like weird family dynamics came together and figured it out. I'm pretty sure they're all in
It's a miracle.
It really is.
But that's God right there.
It is God.
And then that goes back to like when I was thinking about the witchy part, and I forgot to say earlier, is that to live in a lifetime where podcasting has like had this uprising, right? Yeah. And for us to both be podcasting, regardless, and to be on two separate parts of the country, and then to meet, and it's like, whoa, and everything to like flow and get to like where it is right now is just like, whoa.
Well, like energy attracts like energy.
Yeah.
And part of what makes you two so compatible is you have so many things opposite of each other. It's like the Gemini Pisces stuff, having those in different, you know, flipped in your charts.
Right.
Leo rising to the Aquarius, Cancer sun to the Capricorn. Like, it's just inexplicable attraction and a desire to constantly be like learning from the other person, because they're going to respond exactly the opposite way that you are.
So you have to like figure that out, and it kind of fills the cup in other ways. Yeah,
and the truth is always somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
That's what you learn.
Hilarious.
Shades of gray.
Yeah. Because I'll definitely be sitting there like, why would she react like that? Am I stupid? Is she stupid?
Definitely not me. So.
The Leo rising.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh man. You want to take us out?
Sure. You know, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. I hope that this has given you some insight on ways that you can have more insight on your relationship and on yourself. And I hope that you take away from this what you take away from every episode, which is love like you. It's love like this, but it's actually, you know, it's creating a unique experience that is exactly for what you need it to be, and there's no rules to this shit, so make your own. And Danny, tell the people where they can find you so they can get this deep, detailed understanding of themselves and their relations.
Sure. So you can follow me on Instagram at Santos Crystal Visions. My website is www.santoscrystalvisions.com, and you can email me at santosastrology@gmail.com.
He does astrology. He does exorcisms.
I do.
I'm
also a trained ayahuasca shaman if you want to learn more about plant medicine.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna come do that when my heart is ready. He's just a good someone to have in your back pocket for all things, and I appreciate you coming and joining us.
Thank you. I love you guys both so much.
I love you too.
It's a big honor to be here.
Literally since day one, we were like, this guy is cool.
Thank
love
you.
Nah,
Thank
you're
you.
the best.
It's mutual.
YouTube, Love Like This. Patreon, Love Like This. Hoochie Mom and Dad on social. That is Mila_Mapp. I am WH_Orlando Roye. And this is Love Like This, the before, during, and after of falling in love. That was nice, right? You like that
Beautiful.
outro. That was great.
La like this.